here we go with season 20, episode 17.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.
Hi there, welcome to I Should Be Writing. This is a podcast and live stream for wannabe fiction writers. I'm your host, Mer Lafferty. I feel like I'm a wannabe, but I do have several books published, and I've been podcasting since 2005, writing professionally since 2013, and I do this show every week on Thursday, live on Twitch, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we put it out in the feed sometime after that. I've tried to do a schedule, didn't quite work, but I keep making stuff, so that's a happy thing. I have been noodling on my book edits and started working on them today. I've thought through a lot of the problems I had. This is one of those things where if anybody's watching me, they think I'm wasting time because I haven't been doing a lot of writing, but I've been puzzling through a lot of solutions to the murder mystery that I'm writing, and then like reading some murder mysteries and watching some murder mysteries, and finally got an outline written out 2 days ago, and yesterday my editor said it sounds great, so today I started on it. This morning my jerk brain really got a great idea for a series of short fiction, and I thought, well, you're doing this because you have actual work to do. So I'm going to give you 500 words. And when I sat down, I couldn't really think of a way to start it. So I didn't do anything. I officially was not distracted by the short fiction because I couldn't figure out how to start it. Why, that's kind of good and bad news. Yeah, I've been dealing with a little bit of low energy, a little bit of depressive energy lately, and I fully believe it's just one of those things. I can't really point to anything bad that's going on specifically to me. The world brings me down every time I think about it. There's certainly things to worry about out there, but you know, personally, right here, right now, I'm doing okay. I just kind of feel like I'm dragged under a bus every once in a while. But I try to be honest on this podcast without whining too much, and that is a balance that is sometimes difficult to strike. But in thinking about ambition, and I think about what other people are creating, and I'm thinking a lot about people who create in a sort of hybrid way. I had lunch with Ursula Vernon yesterday, and she's got her books with her publishers, and she's got her self-pub books. And whenever Ursula gets a weird idea and her publisher doesn't want it, she writes that book and gets it out and releases it. And I'm like, I get a weird idea and no one gets excited about it, and then I feel bad, and then I stop, then I don't work on it. And I think about the band, the Garages, who just made so much music in such a short time. They just would get together on Discord and talk about weird stuff and say, wouldn't it be funny if someone did a song about this, and then someone would do a song about that. And I guess it's because I'm feeling this way now, but I realize that we have so many opportunities right now to do almost anything we want. Will we do it well? Will people care? That's a different discussion. But when it comes to, can you write an interactive fiction game? Can you write a novel? Can you write a novel and submit it to a publisher? Can you write a novella and self-pub it on Amazon or Kobo or any of those places? Can you pick up a guitar and write a song and release it? And the answer is yes to all of those things. And I realized that that's also tiring. It's really easy. It's so relaxing to not be creative. You know, it's like, knowing that you don't have to make the creations, you just consume them. It's relaxing. It's nice. And I was thinking today that I have the ADHD thing of seeing someone do something creative and thinking, I want to do that. Even though I have shown little or no interest in the past, or little or no ability to do said thing. Like, I love how the Garages and Tom Cardy have done music videos. It's really weird, nerdy stuff, and I love it. And I think, man, I wish I could do something like that. And I'm like, well, you're not a musician. You are not a songwriter. And you are not a video editor or cinematographer or whatever you're going to call that. And I'm not putting myself down. Please understand that. Because I know if I wanted to do that, I could. But the thing is, I chose a very long time ago where I wanted to put all of my creative energy. And that was into writing and later podcasting. But my thought today was actually kind of comforting, because I realized there's a book that I'm reading. I'll give it an endorsement next week because I'm supposed to blurb it, and I'm really enjoying it, but it's a cozy fantasy. And it's one of those cozy fantasies where you just kind of want to crawl into the book and get some hot chocolate and just kind of nestle down and just live the story. And I thought, man, why can't I do that? And then I realized, I'll bet you cash money that the writer was looking at this book like I look at my books. It's I've got a great idea, and then I put it down, and then it's wrong. And now I have to fix it. And it'll never be as good as it was in my head. Crap. And then the first time you pick it up, your brain can automatically find a typo in 5 minutes. So when I look at all these cool things that I think I want to be part of, I realize that the creation is not as comforting as the consuming. And that's okay. This is all good stuff. It's I know a lot of people who, keep up with what's going on in sci-fi, but don't read sci-fi because they'll pick it apart or it feels like work. They read other genres, but they write science fiction. And I think I love the people who make really weird music and weird music videos. I love it so much, in part because I can't do it. My ambitions to do it are the kind of ambitions of like a short kid looking at an NBA star. Wow, that'd be cool. Okay. Yes, I know. Muggsy Bogues played for Wake Forest University. I know. And the Spurs? No. New York. Knicks. Great. Now I can't remember. Muggsy Bogues played for somebody. But yeah, he was in the ACC tournament during my heyday of basketball fandom, which was the late 80s, early 90s. And yes, if you didn't know, I started out as a sports journalist. I did. But I think it's good to know that it's good to identify when you want to create and when you want to have created. It's like I bought a cameo from a Baldur's Gate character or voiceover artist for him to send a birthday message to a friend of mine. And I'm looking at it going, wow, that's really cool. He gets to be a voice on video games, and then he gets to, get like $75 from me for talking into his phone for 2 minutes. That's pretty cool. But I can't act at all. Really, I can't. I've tried. And I really doubt that even if you couldn't see my face, my acting would be that good. And I think that's one thing that's making me tired, is thinking, wow, all of this stuff is really cool. I want to try all these things. And no. I've got the thing I need to do. And that is not as much fun as consuming, but I would not want to do anything else. I would not want to stop, really. That's what it is. I would not want to stop writing. And we meet with our financial consultants about once a year, and they talk about retirement age and what we want to do in retirement and etc. And they keep, asking me what my retirement age is going to be since I'm self-employed. I'm like, stop writing? I don't see that happening. And some people have. I don't think Robert Silverberg's written anything in a while. But I don't want to. I'm much younger than he is. But still, I don't see it happening. And I think also we have the emotional weight when it comes to creation. That it's not just you make a thing and you put it out there, because you've got baggage around whatever made you decide to self-publish. Either you self-published because you couldn't sell it, or you didn't think you could sell it, or whatever. But that baggage is kind of happening. And the baggage of traditional publishing is also there. Did they spend enough money on my marketing? Did they get me a good review? And there's an ad break coming, so I'll pause. I don't know. Frosty Tools says it's ended, and so does the stream software, so I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna catch up with chat. Daniel keeps a sketch pad at my writing desk, just mindly doodle when I feel stuck creatively. I'm not good at drawing, I have no aspirations to be, but sometimes it helps me get unstuck. I've also taken art classes. Yes, I have. I've taken art classes at the local art center. Not good at drawing either. Space Valkyrie says, ADHD brain distracted by new shinies very easily. Underpope had a dream that inspired a series of stories, and Connie Willis is involved. I love Connie. Mostly knew Muggsy from his time on the Hornets. Why? Of course he was on the Hornets. Why did I not? Yeah, okay. Yeah, he was on the Hornets. So I know a lot about men's basketball around that time. ACC. I put a Christian Laettner joke in Station Eternity, I think. So only fans of Duke from the late 80s would get it. Underpope asks, how did your sports journalism past affect your current writing career? I don't know. I think my overall journalism in school, before I quit the J school and became an English major, they gave me a lot of really boring stories. One time, UNC replaced all of the bike racks, and I was assigned a story on that, and I said, you want me to do a story on the bike racks? And they said yes. And I don't think I did a good job, because I had a friend come up to me and say, Mur, I read that your story in the Daily Tar Heel. And I said, yeah. And they said, yeah. And they just looked really sad for me because I did the bike rack story. But I think in general, it helps me with, if I have an idea and it's not very exciting, I have to figure out how to punch it up. And that is something that, I tried to do with the bike rack article and failed. But I remember I disliked baseball growing up. I like it now, and I go to the Durham Bulls games, but I didn't like it growing up, and I had to sit through like a 13-inning game. I was covering a 13-inning game. And the neat thing about that one was, it wasn't that they were not scoring, it's just that they kept matching each other. So it was a high-scoring game. It just lasted a long time, and I thought, well, I'm kind of bored sitting here, but I think a lot of people would find this interesting, so I just have to figure out the right angle. And finding out the right angle is important no matter what you're writing. I know I've talked about this before. This is the problem of having a podcast for 20 years. But it was such an epiphany, I'll bring it up again. When I was writing the solo book, I got kind of blocked at one point because I'd seen the movie and I'd read the script and I'd read the middle grade book to see what that author did with it. And I'm like, I have to tell this exact same scene that all those other media did, but I have to tell it my way. And I could not figure out how to do. And then suddenly I realized, point of view. And I changed the point of view and told that scene through someone else's eyes. And that was a breakthrough for me. So I guess it was looking for the interesting angle, probably is what sports journalism gave me. I love rules. I know I'm pretty much a chaotic person, and I like a lot of change. We were talking about, before recording, we're talking about how I can't settle on an overlay for my podcast, my live stream, I mean, because I just want to change it every once in a while. Just change it. Find something new. Oh, look, it's pretty. I'll change it. Oh, it's Christmas. I'll change it. It's Halloween. I'll change it. I like that kind of guessing and chaos and stuff, but I also like understanding the ins and outs of sports so that you can see why everyone's doing what they're doing. If you're just watching baseball, you don't know what number all of the players are. And you may not know that there are at least 2 people covering every base. And a lot of times they're the same people, because people have a job to cover their own base, and then they usually have a job to cover someone else's base if they run off. And so once you see those rules come into play and you realize that's why that guy's running over there and not that other guy. And it's just kind of like an interesting little dance that even if you can't play it yourself, you understand the ins and outs and why people are moving the way they're moving. Oh, Daniel met Muggsy Bogues. Wow. I never met him. Hello. Man, door just bounces open with authority. The dog has found me. Yes. You've been a bloodhound. You found me. You're so smart. Okay. Jasmine asks, any Babylon 5 references or jokes in your books? Purple or green, scarf or Daffy Duck in a picture frame? Gosh. Yes. There is, crap. Yeah, I think I reference, no, that was in an Escape Pod thing. I believe I've written I'm not going to tell you this important information over the link thing into one of my books, because right after that, he's like, I've got all this secret information. I broke it all open. And he's like, tell me. And he's like, no, not over the link. It's not safe. I'll meet you over here. And of course he gets shot. Whenever someone's on the phone in a movie or TV and they're like, I can't tell you now, I'll tell you later. We're like, not over the link. And we know that that person's going to be incapacitated in some way, possibly die. So I've used that. I do not have a character NPC called Jessica F. I did make a reference to Father Brown in Chaos Terminal, where someone's telling Mallory that she was not the first person to know when murders are happening, because there was a priest in the middle of last century in England who did it, and that was my little nod to Father Brown. Any suggestions to spark creativity to fix boring main characters in an otherwise exciting story? You say boring main characters. Are all the other characters interesting? I think we pretty much all have something we react to stronger than most people. Whether it's a phobia or, an otherwise normal, chill person getting excited about a game, or being an addict or a recovering addict. And you don't know any of that until they get faced with the thing. And it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. But having them react to that is one way. Another way is that I found, and I think I uncovered it by accident, was my murder mysteries kind of do the present day story and then a little bit of backstory to give a wider view of the suspect. And it's not until I go into the flashbacks that I really know who these people are. And so, you've got your character and they're boring, or they have a stable life and very few interests and no friends or relationships. But what did they do when they were younger? And a lot of people don't like prologues because they say they know how it's going to end. But I don't think that's fair to the writer, because even though you know that the character's not going to die, and you know that whatever romance they may be working towards is not going to last, there's still an awful lot of things you can write about that shows how the character became who they were. I gotta admit that I was surprised when I read the script for Solo that the romance in that did not end the way I thought it would. I mean, I was, okay, well, he's not with that person at the beginning of Star Wars, so she must be dead. No, it was a lot more interesting than that. What did I say? Prologues or prequels. Sorry. Yeah, prequels, movies, prologues. No, you're right, K. Kimmy. I am absolutely wrong. Can we roll back and erase all that? Yeah. Sorry. I mean prequels, not prologues. Everything I just said, referring to prequels, not prologues. Thank you, K. Kimmy. But people complain about prequels because they know where the character's going to end up, but there's still a lot of interesting things to reveal about the character. You can say, tell me why Indiana Jones hates snakes. I mean, yeah, it's a phobia, and a lot of people have it, but did something happen? Did something happen that affected his life so much that it changed him? Like, you can be a fun-loving kid who courts all the danger he possibly can, and then one day gets his best friend killed by a car accident, and the kid's never, carefree and dangerous ever again. Not careless at all. And yeah, that's tragic, and it's extreme. But that, you could even show the character as somebody completely different, but something big happens. And you don't have to put this in your book, but this is something that you can use to get a better sense of who your character is. Who was their favorite birthday party? What was their favorite food? When they fell down, what did their parents do? Is this a kiss it and make it better family? Is this a, I'm going to take you to urgent care because I'm a hypochondriac kind of family? Or is it some rub some dirt on it and go back outside and play kind of family? And so seeing who these people grew up around can also help form their character. My issue with prequels is the difficulty in not contradicting continuity personally. There might be too many negatives there. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because it's hard to keep continuity. I see. So, yeah. But, some people complain when there are things like, okay, to be honest, biggest, I'm up there, I'm Gen X, I'm one of the biggest Star Wars fans ever. Even though I can see a lot of the problems with the first 3 movies, I still remember the feelings of being a kid and watching Star Wars. It was phenomenal. I never knew that Han Solo had a signature weapon. Never. I did not think that his blaster was anything special. I just thought he had a blaster. And in the Solo movie, when they, indicate where the blaster came from, some people are like, I didn't need to see that. And I'm like, what? He had a special weapon? I never got that. But I think some people, with continuity there, it's like, does the person, does it feel like they're just putting a puzzle together kind of thing? Like, something's easy. There's not nuanced characterization. It's like, here is where he got this specific thing, and here is where he came up with this specific catchphrase. Is that kind of what you mean? Or is it just the fact that people try to make it their own and therefore do not do a good job making you believe the character could turn into that. Like, I like, if you want to talk later stories, I liked the Boba Fett series, except for the fact that it was Boba Fett. I never got that. I never felt like this was the guy, the big tough bounty hunter we've been seeing. I just didn't get it. And, it's kind of hard to take a bounty hunter that captured our heroes and turned them in for money and making him a protagonist. So I kind of was thinking it was, every time I thought about him as Boba Fett, it threw me out. But I thought it was a good story. Now I don't remember why oh, that's right. We were trying to fix boring main characters. So delving into their past, either write it out or just think about it. I read a article by Greg Buchanan about always, sometimes, never, that when you're building a character, you need to have a couple of things, like only a few things they always do, and a couple of things they would never do. And then the sometimes, is the bell curve. It's like they could sometimes do all this stuff. It's always and never are smaller. So if you feel your character's boring, just think through a couple of things and see what they would do in certain situations. Would they always do X? Would they never do Y? That kind of thing. Oh, hey, Ian. His weapon was based on a late 1800s German pistol. So kind of iconic. I did not know that. That's interesting. Thank you. Kimmy says, like they said he did X at age 8, but now they're saying it happened at age 12, or how can this be so significant but never get mentioned retroactively in their present day? Yes, that was the problem I had with the prequel Star Wars movies, because movie effects had obviously grown by leaps and bounds since the 70s. And we're supposed to say, so 20 years ago, the galaxy had a lot cooler stuff than they do later. The ships are cooler, everything's cooler. So yeah, that's rough. I realized I had written myself into a corner with my Station Eternity book because I reference almost all of Mallory's previous cases, and I realized this would be really hard to write as like a standalone short story, because I got to make sure I hit all these items when I could just say, yeah, and then in 1993, there was this murder or whatever. So, did I edit some of that out? I can't remember. That's another thing with edits. I'm going to have to go into Chaos Terminal, and I don't know if you guys feel this too, but when I'm writing a book, my first draft kind of cements in my head. And then when I have to change things, the changes don't last quite as long. They don't get in there. And so sometimes I can't remember, even after the book comes out, what I settled on when it came to being, like, where that person was from, or who that person was, or whether they had killed somebody in this date or that holiday or whatever. And I think I'm going to be writing one person out of the book entirely with my new edits. So we'll see what happens there. And that was the murderer too, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was not the murderer. I remember all these things. Absolutely. I'm going to end the podcast right here, and then we can talk a little bit more on the feed. But thank you for listening to I Should Be Writing. You can find out more about me at merverse.com or mightymur@gmail.com, where you can send me podcast questions or questions for the podcast. Podcast questions. That sounds weird. Anyway, my upcoming appearances will be the Savage Mill Geek Fest. I don't know if I will get this podcast up before the Geek Fest is over. Sorry about that. But you guys listening live will know. And then I'll be at NASFIC. I recently edited the last 3 episodes, and I realized I was waffling. I'm like, I'm going to NASFIC. I may not go to NASFIC. I don't know. I'm going to NASFIC, Buffalo, New York, in the middle of July. And then I'll be in Glasgow for Worldcon. I'll be in Albuquerque for Bubonicon. And then I'm pretty decided on going to Niagara Falls for World Fantasy. Probably. And that's where my appearances will be for the rest of the year. I may attend PAX Unplugged, but that'll be just as a fan. But But anyway, keep up with me at murverse.com. I kind of am on social medias. I don't know. I check Instagram and Twitch. I don't know if Twitch is social media. It's a streaming platform. See, I told you, my brain's just not firing 100%. I'm just wandering off my own little tangents. Anyway, sometimes it's difficult and sometimes it's easy, but when you're done down the road, you're not going to be able to tell which day was which when you look at what you wrote. And for that reason, today, you should be writing. Thank you for listening to I Should Be Writing, the longest running writing podcast in existence. This episode was made possible by the Fabulous, who support the podcast via Patreon or Substack. Join the Fabulous at patreon.com/mightymur or mightymur.substack.com. Theme music provided by John Anelio, art provided by Numbers Ninja, and podcast hosting provided by Libsyn. This episode is released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 license. You can find all of my books and podcasts at murverse.com.
I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft, but I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.